Right on. Oh. All right, it's 1 o'clock, so we'll get started. We're playing musical chairs. It's 1 o'clock and we are here on Monday, October 16th for a board work session. Dr. Kalahar, I'll let you introduce.
There we go. Excellent. Thank you so much. Well, welcome everyone. We are excited today to have the Wenatchee Valley Community Transitions Program with us, and their brave and courageous leader, Beth Ann Sykes, is with us to help present. And I'm just thoroughly thrilled that we have students in the room and we have staff from the program as well. And our time today will be dedicated to hear about this wonderful program. So Beth Ann, when you're ready to go, you can just take it.
All right, we are so excited to be here today. And I think what we'll start with is having our students present and tell you a little bit about the things that they do on a daily basis in our program. So can I introduce them all first? So you know who all we have here. My staff that I brought with me today are Betty Karkutsky and Kara Landfair. And then our student presenters are Jack Waite, Seth Fuller, Julian Gonzalez, Bella Martinez, and Shannon Weist, excuse me. And I think we're going to start with Jack today. So Jack, do you want to come up with Miss Kara? You're going to go to the podium here. Jack is going to present what the students do at the transition house. Oh, just ready?
Skills we learn. Reading simple recipes, preparing simple meals, how to use washer and dryer, basic house cleaning, your menus. We also practice street safety, teamwork, how to ask for help. Thank you.
Next, we'll have Shannon Weist. And Shannon is going to tell us about the tech centers programs.
Okay, so she's going to tell about Tech Center. In the Tech Center right now, we have 11 students. I think next week it'll make it 12. We have 1 in construction and then 11 that participate in culinary arts. And so, okay, let's see. So she's going to tell about skills that we learn at the Tech Center.
In culinary, we learn safe food handling. We all have our food handler's card. Knife skills, how to work the dish pit, cleaning food areas. We also learn to create sauces from scratch, measuring for cooking and baking, stovetop cooking, oven cooking, deep frying, and others. And we also learn to read recipes. Also catering and service skills in the cafe. Teamwork. In construction, Will is learning to work with chop saws, skill saws, table saws, impact driver, and many other tools. We really enjoy participating at the Tech Center. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Bella Martinez, and she's going to talk about paid employment.
Right. So employment increases independence.
We make new friends with our coworkers. We earn a paycheck. We learn to ride link plus O link. We learn to advocate for what we need at work.
Job coaches.
Our job coaches help us learn how to work independently and help us learn our job task. They help us learn to work with our nature support. They encourage us in a shift.
Employment equals belonging.
I know to make a difference and other people look forward to seeing me even shift. Thank you.
Next, we'll hear from Julian Gonzalez, who is going to talk about volunteer activities.
Okay, so we're gonna do Julian's a little different here. Julian's gonna talk to us on volunteering. So 100% of the students in transition are volunteering out in our community this year. Right now, they volunteer at Serve Wenatchee, the Humane Society, Wenatchee Valley Senior Center, the Brave Warrior Project, and they've just started, we're doing the Chelan Douglas Community Action Council. And so Julian, can you tell us, where do you volunteer at?
The senior center,
Okay, and when do you volunteer?
each week. 1 week,
One time a week?
yeah,
How
one
many
time.
hours do you volunteer?
Uh,
Like 3 hours? you
yeah,
think? 3 hours? Okay, what do you do there?
I do the food prep.
Mhm. And what is the food going to, like, what's going on when you go there?
The food is for the seniors.
For lunchtime?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And what kind of skills are you learning there?
Knife skills, cooking, making some food,
Mhm. So what has been your favorite thing to do there so far?
making the snacks.
What kind of snacks? Just snacks for the lunches
Yeah,
for seniors? Yeah, okay. And how do you feel? About going there, volunteering?
I loved it.
You like it? And how do you think the seniors feel?
They're really happy.
They are. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Seth Fuller, and this is Seth's first year in our program, and he did some learning around disability and disability pride. And I asked him to answer some questions, and I loved what he wrote, so I wanted to have him share this. Seth, you are just on.
Testing, is this thing on? I experience autism, which means that I might not make new friends that often, although I now make some new friends at the transition program. I hang out with them, talk with them, and even make plans to hang out outside the transition program. When it comes to angry yelling, I really don't like it. I easily flinch, since I do have hypersensitivity to sensory input, including sound, but only in some cases nowadays. Despite my autism, my life can have its ups and downs, but it's kind of okay. Disability can show how different each of our brains work, like how we have different hobbies, opinions, and so on. But disability pride proves that even if a task we do is difficult, we'll still feel proud of ourselves. Two things I excel at are learning how to animate in CGI, which is short for computer generated imagery, although it does take a lot of practice. And learning how to write or type screenplays. So that means my disability superpower is technological skills. Any questions?
Thank you, Seth.
Any questions?
Good job. Thank you. All right. So students, if you guys want to stay and participate and listen to the conversation we're going to have about our transition program, you are welcome to. I do think we're going to have, we're going to have Jack and Seth hang out for a little while, but they have also said earlier that they'd like to go over to the transition house when they're ready. So I am. Okay. Thanks, you guys. They're so fun. I'm so excited to be here today. And so Liz, if you wouldn't mind doing the Wenatchee Valley Community Transition slideshow. When Dr. Kalahar asked me what I wanted to do to present at a board meeting or to come to today, I was like, oh, that's kind of a no-brainer for me because this is a true passion of mine and I could probably speak on it for hours. But I tried to today to bring to you guys a little bit about what we do and just want to share what our students do mostly because I think it's changed drastically from where it was when I first arrived to Wenatchee. So, and I don't know that there's been a lot of talk around what the transition program has evolved to. So one of the things, if you could go to the next slide, please, Liz, thank you. I just wanted to share my background a little bit because I want to make sure that you guys know where I'm getting my information from and why I think the way that I do. So I do have 26 years. This is my 26th year in teaching special education. I spent a lot of my professional growing up time over in Spokane and the Meade school districts and moved here 6 years ago, I believe. I am also an adjunct professor and course developer at Eastern Washington University and get to share my love of teaching with students who are wanting to become teachers. And that's been so fun for me. I also have really enjoyed participating as a course developer and professional development provider for WEA's Special Education Support Center and the Inclusionary Practices Project through OSPI. And I do have my national boards. I first qualified in 2018 and then maintained my certificate in 2022. And then I have just now started an LLC for helping families and other school districts know what transition is and how to work through the system. Because in transition and in the community, there are so many different agencies that support students after high school that it can be very overwhelming. And I have the luxury of getting to do the work with multiple families. And sometimes when our families have one student that they're working with, it can be an overwhelming process. So I'd love to be able to help families make the process a little easier. So that's a little bit about my background. So a day in the life kind of what we do in the transition program. We like Betty and some of the other students talked about, they do participate or have the opportunity to participate at the Tech Center. And this has been really awesome because I know our district is very inclusion minded, and it's fun to have students express an interest in the food services industry and be able to say, we can do that. We can help you learn those skills. And there is a program in place, Chef Kitus and Lindy Jewett and Pete and Pam over there at the Tech Center. They have created such a wonderful program, and it's so well organized and just allows our staff to go in and accommodate and make modifications to the curriculum so that our students really do get to access the content of the class at the Tech Center. We do staff, because we have 11 12 students now that are accessing that program in the mornings. We do send 3 of our job coaches to assist with that work. And they just help by making sure the groups are all inclusive of students and that they're all engaged and doing the work that Chef has put forward for them. We also have a student who joined us this year from the high school who has a huge interest in the construction field. And so he has asked if he can continue in that class, and that's been something he's been able to do. And he's really enjoyed that. And we have a young lady who's starting in the nursing program there. Tomorrow is her first day. So she's very excited about that too. So it's a nice connection that we've been able to have to be able to collaborate with the tech center as needed. We go into the community. So our program truly, we say it's community, Wenatchee Valley Community Transitions, because we are a community-based program. When I first got to Wenatchee, our home base was the transition house, and that's where we stayed most of the day. We did send students out and about from there. And now that we have a space at West Side, we can have students go all over the place, and we are out in the community all day long. We work with some students. We have a wide variety of students in terms of what their levels are for and what they need for their learning. So we do have some students who are working on street safety skills, and our staff will go out and work on basic crossing the street, paying attention to cars and parking lots, and how do we get to and from places safely, all the way to having students learn how to ride Link Plus, which is the door-to-door service, and make their own rides and call and schedule their own rides. And then we also work with students and the gentleman at Link to learn the Link system and the My Stop app. So there's an app that you can use. And so those students who can learn those skills and have their own cell phones, they get to learn with our staff helping train them and learn to use that app independently so that they can go into the community independently. And once they know how to access the community, their own independence skyrockets, and it's super cool. It's fun to watch. Functional daily living skills. That's what Jack talked a little bit about. We do have that wide variety of learning needs. So we have a group of students who do access the transition house 3 days a week. And the staff that we have this year, I've been able to delegate things out and say, this is what I would like to see. This is the programming we'd like to use. And the staff has said, we would love that. And so they have created a neat program where Mondays, they take a group of students to the transition house. They find a recipe and what they want to make that week, and they make the plan for it. Then Tuesday afternoons, they go back down to the transition house and decide, where do we want to go shopping? They do sometimes some comparison shopping at different grocery stores to find the most cost-effective place to purchase ingredients. And then on Thursdays, that's the day that they go and make the recipe and enjoy what they've made. So, so we do get to access the transition house 3 days a week. I have been excited in the last 2 years. The house has been something that has not been utilized very often. We've gone from 12 students to 29 to 14. We're up to 22. So now it's just been back and forth, and it's been hard to figure out how to utilize that. So now we have the high school is also using the transition house in the morning. So that space is being shared now amongst a couple of programs so that students can fully engage, and students who may not join us at a community-based program can still receive those transition skills that are mandated to be delivered. They can still get those through the high school by coming to the transition house too. So that's kind of a nice partnership there as well. Functional academics. We do still teach functional academics for our students in transition, although the transition program is a work-based focus. We do focus on employment. So one of the things when we look at functional academics, we move to things that students will use in their everyday lives. So basic budgeting for a month, cost comparisons at different stores, or even going to rent a movie as opposed to going to a movie, or travel prices and things. We look at a lot of different things and help students understand how to most effectively spend and save their money. We focus on vocational writing, so creating resumes, cover letters, and taking phone messages perhaps, so that they can, if they want to be a secretary or work in at a school. For instance, we have Shannon Weist here. She is hired by our district and she works at Wenatchee High School as a secretary assistant, or assistant to the secretary. And she's learning to be able to take phone messages, and that will be something that will help her and carry her forward into other jobs if she wants to stay in that field. So we really do that, really look at what students want to do and try and provide training in those types of skills. We work on time telling and conceptual time, understanding maybe if the bus comes at 7:40, I need to wake up at 7 o'clock because it takes me 20 minutes to get ready, knowing that sequence of time and working with students on that as well. And then we maintain reading skills and build reading skills and reading for understanding. So those are things with functional academics. Any questions so far? I know I'm talking a lot. Okay, let's keep going. We really work with community agencies and the connections for students. So one of the biggest things that needs to happen, in my opinion, for transition is that students get connected with and know who the people are that will support them once they leave our school district. And so we connect with our DVR, or vocational rehabilitation office in town. We connect with DDA, which is Developmental Disability Administration. We connect with pre-ETS, which is pre-employability transition skills, or training skills, excuse me. And CRPs are community resource providers. Those are the people who will work with students as job coaches once they leave the school district. And we also help students apply for SSDI, which is Supplemental Security Disability Insurance, and SSI, Supplementary Security Income. All of those things are things that our students will rely on when they are out of our school system, and they really need to be able to know what those entities are and who are their case managers in those places. Vocational training opportunities. We have a really cool connection with our CTE department now, and get to work with them in establishing jobs for our students. Dan Elwood has come out and helped with things like, we just put a vending machine in the break room here that we're going to be working on filling snacks, and we'll maintain that. And that will be our students from that need more life skills focus. So they'll be the ones that will fill that machine, count the money, do the inventory. So they'll be learning job skills along the way with that machine as well. But we also have created some really neat partnerships in our community with Stemilt and Confluence Health. We have connections with Albertsons and Crunch Pack and Safeway and Old Navy. There's a whole bunch of places where our students have worked that we may not have students placed right now, but they have done such a great job that those doors are open and we can approach and place students if our students have an interest in working there. One of the things with Confluence, there are 7 different departments at Confluence who have said yes to having our students work there. And we have had multiple students start in the cafeteria, and our job coaches go in with our student. They learn the job that is being asked of them, and it's a job that other people in the community apply for. So like Food Worker 1 is the title of one of the jobs. And our students apply for right alongside other employees, and our job coaches will go in, see what the job is, help set up a task analysis, and start working with the student to learn the job, and then work with the staff at the hospital as well, or in the cafeteria as well, so that when the hospital feels comfortable and the student feels comfortable and the job coach feels comfortable, we can start removing that support, and our students can now work with natural supports in that system. So it has been a really cool partnership. They have even said, if we have students who are wanting to work full-time, they will also be included in the, if it's 40 hours a week or more, in the benefits, retirement, and all of the things that other Confluence employees get too. So they're seeing it as just another extension of being a part of our community and being involved. So it's pretty cool. Let's see, our self-advocacy and social skills training that we do with students. Part of all of this, and the thing that oversees all of it, is our students have to be able to advocate for what they need and what they want in a way that other people are encouraged to help or to take notice and want to respond to that. So we work a lot. I refer to our students as self-advocates and tell them every time they ask a question, or if they want to go somewhere, their voice is important and I want them to know that they're heard. And so if they come to me and say, I'd like to go to Subway today, or can we go walk at Confluence this week? I will do everything I can to make that happen so that they know that their voice was heard and that their words are important. We do have a couple of students that are with us today, Julian and Bella have been selected by the SPIAC Council, which is new for us, but it's very exciting. It's the Student Potential Youth Advisory Council, and it's a program that is focused on engaging and empowering students with disabilities to become central voices and leaders in education advocacy. It's a lot, but they had their first meeting over Zoom on Monday last week, and they are meeting with people from all over the state and other young people with disabilities. And they get to talk to legislators about their experiences in education and what they have experienced and what they would like to see. And it's a pretty cool opportunity for them to build their own advocacy skills and just know that, again, their voices matter and that they do make a difference. That's pretty exciting. The district also this year did purchase a new curriculum for us that is called Circles, and it's a program that teaches social boundaries, and it's very concrete, and they use humor and video modeling, and it's a program that I've had the pleasure of working with my entire career, and I'm so excited that it's here now because our students are learning what the appropriate levels of trust, of how to talk to people in different relationships and levels of touch that are appropriate. And while I fully love and want our students to be included and have those inclusive opportunities, I always have to keep in mind that our students do require specially designed instruction to further their skills. And so using SDI to teach social skills is something that is so important in my mind to help our young people be able to move forward with healthy relationships in all aspects of their lives. So this Circles program is awesome. And we're starting to have some really, really cool conversations, and they bought it for the high school. So I'll get to work with some of the high school teachers as well. So they know the curriculum, and we can just kind of have that same conversation with students as they move through all the way up through transition. So that's very exciting. And then volunteer opportunities. We do, as Betty said earlier, this year we do have several volunteer opportunities, and every one of our students will be participating in those experiences this year. Volunteer opportunities allow us to work with students in areas that they may not have known they're interested in. We can provide opportunities for students to go places that they may not have even heard of, to give back to our community for being such good supporters of us. And they're learning some pretty neat skills at those volunteer opportunities as well. So any questions about a day in the life of what we kind of do? Okay. So next we have a couple of things that we keep in mind that I try and keep in mind when I'm working with our students and our staff, is that Washington State is what they say a work first state, which means every student who leaves the transition program, the government wants us to try work first. Even students who we might think might have experience their disability and in a bigger way than others. They might have more challenging behaviors to overcome. They might need more support than other students, than other employees would need to work. But Washington State and DDA, or the Developmental Disability Administration, they have a firm belief that all students can work, and all means all. So we have 2 young men that work for our district and do the recycling. The district has hired them as recyclers to work for District 2 that says yes to our students. It is one of the coolest feelings in the world to be able to say that. So we have these 2 young men who are supported by a job coach. They drive around to all of our school districts, or our school buildings, excuse me, and they collect the paper and the cardboard recycling. We support them now with our program. When they age out of our program, this is their last year, DDA will say they're in stable employment. We can say, yes, they've done this for an entire school year now. DDA will help pay for a job coach up to the number of hours that they are stable in. So now those 2 young men who are doing the recycling, it will still be on the district to provide a job coach to drive, or a driver to go around to those schools. But now, instead of having our job coaches train those students and be with those students in the community, 2 outside job coaches that are paid by agencies like Mission Vista or Goodwill in our community, they will come up alongside those students and spend 15 full hours with them, because those students will require one-on-one supports. So it's neat that we have that available in the state too. This is a neat time to be working in our state, because they really do mean all means all with our students. So that's so fun to be a part of. Our self-determination in a student day transition does not have to be a Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 3 program. We work with students on what they need and what their schedules are. So we have a couple of students who only attend half days. We have a couple of students who come 2 or 3 days a week. If they have a job, that job takes precedence. So we have one student who works full-time Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and he joins us Monday and Friday. So it's fluid. It can be whatever a family needs or whatever the student needs. One thing that is important that we do try and remember is that services from DDA require it. So DDA will provide a lifelong job coach for students once they age out of public education, but they have to have been in a transition program for that time, from when they've finished 4 years of high school and before they age out. So they need to be enrolled. So we need to keep them engaged in ways that they want. So they want to stay coming to school instead of just stopping right when they are finished with their high school requirements or their graduation requirements. The understanding of disability and disability rights. We are working with our pre-employability training team that comes from Seattle to work with us 2 days a week. So our students are learning how they qualify for services. They learn about what their qualifying category is, and they learn how to talk about it. And they know what their accommodations are. We really look at what our strengths are and how we do things and how we learn best. And then we learn how those areas that provide opportunities for growth. Our students learn those areas and they learn how to advocate for what they need, so that when they go to work, they can advocate for those things from their bosses or their natural supports that they're working with. And then finally, the nothing about us without us. That's a phrase that we have in our classroom. And it's important that our students know that they need to be involved in the conversations that their support people at home, their support people at school, all of us, if we're making any kind of a decision, having a conversation about a student, that student needs to be involved and they need to be able to hear. Even if we don't know that they're going to understand the entire conversation, we need to speak in a way that they do and that they can be active participants in the choices that are being made for them or with them. So nothing about us without us, right? So one of the things I did include this is because it's things that I've seen in other programs in the state and things that we try and have happen prior to students coming into a transition program. We like to make sure that they've passed all state and district-wide assessments. They participate in graduation ceremonies and activities. There is a, I think it's called Kevin's Law, that students, because our students have the ability to walk across the stage and do the graduation party and all of those things, and then come back for another 3 years. It was a big question or conundrum for families. Well, when do we participate in those activities and how do we decide that? So it is now the families and students get to choose. Do we participate at the end of high school, those 4 years, or we can do those celebratory things at the end of transition. We encourage families to do that with their whole class that they graduated with or they entered high school with, so that they can be with their peers during that time. And then we try and do this big celebration for our students at the end of their time in transition as well. So we try and make it special too. So I think it works sometimes. We would like students to obtain a Washington State ID card prior to coming to our program and sign up for Link Plus. They may not utilize Link Plus, but the natural progression of things is that the school bus stops coming when you graduate from high school. And so we want to be able to support students with what's next. Are you going to be getting a driver's license? Are you going to be needing Link Plus or riding the bus system? So we want to really support where students' learning needs to go. So we try and get them connected with Link Plus. Also having families connect with DDA and DVR, both group and individual services through DVR, and then the SSI or SSDI agencies. Those DDA and DDA is something that they provide birth to death services for people with disabilities. So it's really important that families are hearing about it and being supported to, if they want to be connected with those agencies. DDA can provide things like respite care for families. So dads and moms can go out and have a date night if they want to. It's and know that someone is qualified to be there to help with their child at home. And they provide counseling services and all kinds of different things that our families could utilize for the entire life of their child. So we also try and have students have a cell phone. It's one of the biggest tools that we can use as far as getting around town using the app for the MyStop app or getting in touch with an employer. They call me instead of having their parents call when they're sick. They let me know that they're not going to be at school today, just so that they can practice those skills of calling their employer and calling instead of having someone else do it for them. And then also establishing personal email accounts. As soon as they age out, those emails that the school district provide stop and everything's gone. So we try and have them create those email accounts so that we can create resumes and documents and things in those accounts prior to them leaving. So here's the big one, future hopes. So one of the reasons I was super glad Dr. Kalahar asked me to come today was so that I could share what my dreams are for this program. And I love this work. It is a huge passion of mine. And when I was in my former school district, I got to build a transition program. And when I left, there wasn't someone else to come up and keep it going. And that was frustrating for families that I had known, and that it was very difficult. And so I don't want that to happen in Wenatchee. I think we have people in our district who, in our program, even who love this work and have great ideas for this work and want to continue it. And I want to be able to have a hand in making sure that happens and it keeps going. So one of my biggest dreams would be to finally move to the college campus. We thought we were going to get to do that last year, and with a new president coming in, that totally understandable. He needed to know what his new surroundings were. So that was put on hold for a bit. And we did get to move to West Side High School, and we have this amazing portable. I would love to extend an invitation if anybody wants to come see it. It is a phenomenal space, and we have the whole portable. So we have half of the room is for where we do lessons and teach, and the other half is kind of a community center because we're coming and going all day long. The lessons can continue and folks can come in and out of the other side and have lunch, and it doesn't interrupt the learning on the other side. So it has been a really great spot. If we could just do this with it and put it right across the street would be awesome. But the goal for us at the campus would be to be able to apply for and work on campus in those jobs that are available there, as well as attend some classes. We have really reached out and tried to find ways to let our students engage in the learning opportunities there. But there hasn't been conversations, I would say, I guess, around that in other places as to how do transition students access if they aren't going to access through Running Start. Is there another way we can do that? And so those conversations are happening with people I know that work on campus, and we're just trying to kind of work our way so that we can be seen more on campus and people get used to us being a part of that community. So that's one of our goals. My other one that I would love to see is building a regional program. All of the transition age students in our valley will use the same services. So if you are from Cashmere, Cascade, Chelan, Eastmont, all of the Iniats, all the little school districts, every single one of those students, if they qualify for DVR and DDA, they will use the services in Wenatchee. So it makes sense in my mind that we figure out a way to invite those students to join us. I am not yet in the loop of understanding how the whole budget works and how, all of those things. But for me and the way my brain thinks is we are inviting these agencies to come in and instruct our students. We have a group that comes from Seattle, and they spend 2 hours a week with us, twice a week, I guess. And it just would make sense to have other schools join us for those 2 hours. So those folks don't have to figure out how to get to all these other little schools at the same time. If everybody was in one location, they could service a lot of other students in one space. I thought that made sense. Also, another thing is I look at other school districts closer to us, and though they actually have transition coordinator positions where they have 2 people who work with families, work with teachers, build a program, find jobs, and train teachers, do all kinds of things. And they're not in the classroom at the same. They may go in and work with students, but their job is to build program and support families. And we in Wenatchee don't have that. That is something that I have taken on with our families to try and do and support. But it is a lot, and it would be really neat eventually. I know that we're not in a spot right now to be able to do that, but eventually I would love to just be able to continue the conversation around how can we do that, especially the part of helping families connect with the services. I got to talk with with Taya Appleton. She's our teacher for the visually impaired. She also connects families with outside services, and it's not a requirement of our jobs. It's not something that's listed as something we have to do, but it is something that as educators who help students to move beyond high school, they wouldn't be able to move forward if they weren't connected. So being able to have time to do that and create those opportunities for family is so important for us to be able to do those things. And then finally, I think as the transition program, it feels sometimes like we're seen more as a class, like a transition class, where we're in a high school, or it's just, it's a class, and it's really, there's a lot more to it. I oversee 8 staff members or job coaches. We connect with all of these different agencies. We connect with the job coaches and find employment for kids or students. And we go into the community, and all of that is very expensive. It costs a lot of money to do that. So one of the ideas that our friend Betty back here has had is, why not come up with a donation program or a sponsorship program? So those are things that, if we could find community sponsors and share about our program in a way that made people want to say, yeah, this is great, and we're letting students do some great things, to be able to sponsor students, and to have volunteer shirts when they go volunteer. The volunteer places want them to wear a volunteer t-shirt. Those cost $15 per student. So there's little things that cost money, and to have a sponsorship program for each student that comes in, possibly, it would just open up a world of things for students, a world of activities and opportunities. So that's all I have for today, but I do have a video I want to share about the dignity of risk. And this video is put on by the star of the show. Her name is Ivanova, and she's a self-advocate who is sharing her experiences about the importance of letting people try and maybe fail, and what that does for people when they get to have that opportunity.
Welcome to another episode of Conversations with Ivanova. And this episode is very special. I actually get to have some other self-advocates here with me today. And we're going to be talking about dignity of risk. Dignity of risk is the idea that there is dignity in making mistakes, that there is dignity in doing things that may cause that you may make a mistake, that you may do something wrong, and that's okay. So dignity means like respect and value into something, and risk is something that is sometimes scary, or sometimes you're not going to be perfect at, or you may make a mistake. For me, dignity of risk was moving out. Going on my first date, it was risky, but I'm glad that I did it because I learned from it. Another way that my parents enforced dignity of risk is they wanted me to try to drive. And it did not work out. I messed up, and it was not a good idea, but it was really important that I tried. So I have some other self-advocates here, and they want to talk to you about what dignity of risk means to them.
I'll just touch on what Ivanova was just saying. It is nice to make a mistake because people can learn from it. Or if you're like, have you heard anybody being soft-hearted? It's like, I would like to support that person, but how can I support the best way you can? It's a learning experience.
Sometimes I mistake myself too sometimes. And sometimes I mistake, and my mind tells me, please don't do it because it does not pay. And also, I make sure I did it the right thing this time.
Understanding we all are going to have inherent risks in life. But if you have a positive attitude and you know that you're going to get over that, that's the best way of approaching it. And also what has been said here is support of a person that's making a risk. Support them.
I do Special Olympics for a living, so I know about risks and I know about making mistakes all the time. When you're up on the mountain skiing, there's a lot of risks and there's a lot of mistakes you can make. Going around a turn at 40 miles an hour and accidentally missing that turn and yard selling, that's a big risk. And sometimes you can take it out on yourself, but you just have to pick yourself back up, go right back through the gate and try to make a calculated risk.
I see this a lot with our youth. They never get a chance to fail. And if you never fail, you never learn. And so here, when they become adults, they've never had a chance to make these mistakes, and then they end up making them later in life. And sometimes they're a lot more harmful when you have them later in life than you do when you're younger. And people are they're more easily exploited when they don't have this experience behind them. So I think letting them risk, letting them live normal lives that take risks and make failures and have the consequences of those failures is a natural part of life. And I think we'll see people farther ahead in life by taking those risks.
If we don't make our own choice about dignity, and Will and I are gonna get nowhere in life.
You gotta learn from your mistakes. So if you don't make mistakes, how can you learn life?
We heard some really important examples of how dignity of risk is actually one of the most important of lessons, of life lessons. You know, we have the same right to do things that are scary, to do things that are risky, and to learn from those risky decisions. And that if we need supported decision making, that people will support us in allowing us to take the risk and do it in a way that's safe. And so thank you for being here today, and thank you to all the fellow People First members here at People First Convention 2019.
Some of those young people I had the pleasure of working with in Spokane, and the gentleman at the end in the blue shirt, his name's Craig Cecilia, and he was the director of People First of Washington, or Student First of Washington, excuse me. And he led a team of young people with disabilities that would come into our classrooms and teach teamwork skills. And they'd come in once a week and do some really neat lessons and just learn how to advocate for people. And so that's just a group of students that are speaking on why it's important to be supported and be able to try things. And one of the things I wanted to include that because I don't know how much you guys know about our program, but the Wenatchee School District sees our kids and our students, and they support us. We have a huge team of paraprofessionals. I call them job coaches, but it's so neat to work in a district that does support our kids and supports them taking the chances and knows that they do need the support out there to make those things happen. So thank you for all of that. And for letting me be here today with some of my young people. It's pretty incredible. It's a fun job to have for sure.
Thank you. Oh, no, go ahead.
Excellent. I was just going to see if anybody had any questions or comments that they wanted to direct at Beth or her students or anything of the like.
I realize I need an education in organizational geography. So just checking that you're specifically talking about 22 students within the Wenatchee School District, correct?
We have 21 students enrolled in our program right now, and we have one young man who joins us from Kashmir School
Okay.
District, and he comes to join us with one of his paras
Okay.
from their district.
And you talked about possibly multi-county regional cooperation.
Yes.
About 6 months ago, I listened to a program that I thought was Eastmont based and working with Stamilt, and they were talking about involving more school districts in future years. I guess in a similar way to which the Skills Center serves multiple school districts. That's part of the job. So there really are two parallel organizations and maybe more. Any comments on, I would just use a general partnering opportunities that we should be aware of? Don't advocate for anything specific, but
Right.
just educate us as what we should be aware of.
For sure. So yes, it is. Eastmont has a fantastic program called Project Search, and they are working on building it to be a regional program. by inviting other students to come and participate in that program. And it is a different program than what Wenatchee offers. It is a nationally known company or program, excuse me, where like there's a project search in Spokane, there's project searches all over the United States, and I believe in other countries. But it is typically a program where students have to declare that this will be their last year in public education. And a percentage of those students have to qualify for developmental disability administrative services. They have internships. I know at this STEMILT project search STEMILT, they have, I believe, 10 different opportunities or jobs within STEMILT where they can choose to work in those spots, and they rotate 3 times a year. So they have 3 10-week internships. They are unpaid internships, and when they are in that program, they do help connect them with their DVR providers and their DDA case managers. I hate to speak in acronyms, so I'm sorry, but there's a lot of them. And then they help students find employment outside of STEMILT once they graduate. They did have, I believe, 2 students this year who did receive offers to stay at STEMILT. So they are offering, it is a very different program. It is a 1-year program. And whereas Wenatchee, we have a 3-year program, and students stay engaged and learn skills those whole 3 years. And we also, there's a difference in this Chelan Douglas counties. We aren't a very large county, right? We don't have the 2 counties together aren't considered big counties. In the larger counties in Washington state, there are contracts called School to Work and Job Foundations. And they have been working with schools through DDA and the counties to provide connections with job coaches while students are in high school that are paid for by DVR and the counties and maybe DDA. There's a whole pot of different monies that come from different areas. House Bill 5790 that was just passed says that all counties have to provide School to Work and Job Foundations. So now our county is trying to figure out a way to bring those services into our schools. They have not been able to do that yet, but I know that I've heard it's supposed to start this year. I'm fingers crossed. But so what we're doing in Wenatchee to circumvent that need is to help find paid employment for our students who are aging out in that year. So like Shannon, can I talk about you, Shannon, for a second? Thank you. Shannon is, like I said, she is an assistant to the secretary at the high school. And should she want to keep that job when she ages out at the end of this year, DDA would look and say, oh, she already has her job, so she would not need to have DVR services. She would move right over to the DDA services, and they would provide a job coach for Shannon should she need a job coach in that position. So there's a lot of moving parts in the world of services outside of a school district. And we try and share that with students and families so that they understand those working parts. And that's one of the reasons I would love to be able to see us invite and figure out a way to invite those other schools. So if they didn't want to go and have it be 1 year only at STEMILT or with Eastmont, they have the opportunity to look at a Wenatchee program that's 3 years long, that is all inclusive of all of the things that we do in the community with our community partners, with the agencies, and the training that we provide as well. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you
Okay,
very much.
yeah.
It got me out of being in dark shadows to understanding of it.
Well, I want to say thank you. I think we're very lucky to have a director that's you're super invested in the program, and thank you. And Betty and all the job coaches as well. I just want to say, thank you to Julian and Bella for participating in the SPIAC I've seen firsthand the impact that student voice has in the legislative area. So thank you for your work. And then in regards to, you're advocating for transition coordinators who help support families. And while you were presenting on the things that need to be completed prior to attending the transition program, and then talking about the transition coordinators, who is currently doing those support services for our families to get them connected to those, for all those needs, especially when there's a language barrier?
Thank you for asking that too. Right now, the students that are coming to us from the high school, most of them are not connected to DDA. I do know that there are conversations being had at IEP meetings at the high school level. I am not sure who does facilitate those questions earlier than at the high school. I know that Amy Van Way is very good at getting families involved in talking about the services. It's really a family choice as to if they want the services. But understanding and knowing that DDA is the only DSHS office that if you sign up for and are found eligible, you do not have to utilize those services. Your name stays in, you go into what they call a no paid services contract, and you stay there, and they might reach out and say, do you need anything? And you can say no, and you just stay there. And then when you want those services, you can advocate for them. So that I don't know how many people or who else knows that information. I don't know how to answer that question. I'm not sure who is having those conversations from pre-K forward, but that's something that I would be very interested in helping with, or being able to train with and share, because I think it is very important. There are a lot of services that DDA can offer our families, and families don't know what they don't know. And so being able to understand it in a way, I think it can be scary for families to say we want help, especially when you're looking for someone to come in and help with a vulnerable child. That can be very scary, because you kind of have to find someone else or a family member to help. But knowing that your school can come alongside you and help, I think that would be something that would be calming for families, or it seems to be for ours, for when they know that someone else has some background in it and some knowledge about it. Been helpful.
Yeah, and I think it's not just with with helping with DEA, but how to sign them up for Link Plus and all those support services. Do we offer, say, a family advocate? Do we have dedicated time for a family advocate at the transition program?
I mean, we currently do not now have that dedication, but there are family advocates at the high school. I don't know if they're accessed or utilized. Yeah.
I have not used a family advocate because I didn't know that this is the first time. I know too that since I've been here, I have been just in the transition program. So I am not really involved at the high school. So I don't have the knowledge of what is, and that's on me. I need to know better. And this year we are being under Donna, she's my new evaluator. So we are talking more. I am able to go in, and they've got some plans for me to come in and talk to the staff there about DDA and DVR services, so that teachers there do know and understand what the value of these agencies are. But I have not used a family advocate. I've just kind of made it my business to know what the services are so that I can do that work with families and support them as they need it. If that makes sense.
One of the things that we were able to do at Westside that would be nice if we could do that elsewhere is have that be part of a graduation pathway requirement for our students as they exit our system, is to have those boxes checked off that the parents and the families have been part of those. And so that can be something that we can work on together as well and find out how to negotiate and navigate that. That would be great. Good question, though. Good question. Hello.
Corey, picking up on what we said earlier, is graduation pathway is the end of 12 years. Maybe it's a great idea, but if there's another point where you can hook in a little earlier.
We do have a high school and beyond plan that we work with in transition that does. We talk about, are you connected with DDA? Do you understand the difference between individual services and group services with DVR? Are you connected with SSI? So we do work through that at the transition level. It's a very different high school and beyond plan than what they work with at the high school though, or in middle school too, I guess.
I don't have a question, but I just want to thank you for coming and thank the students for coming and presenting. You all did a fabulous job today. So good job, good work. I think the district is lucky to have you as the leader of this program and working through that complex network of acronyms that I could not follow completely. But I get it. Education is full of acronyms. That's just a whole nother level, but I do really appreciate the work that you're doing with our students and families. And I hope that everybody, I believe that these students will benefit for the rest of their lives for what you're doing now with them. Thank you.
I know we have a couple board members remote. Do you guys have any questions?
No, no questions, but thank you for your passion and clear love for your job and what you're doing and how you're helping so many kids. It's very evident and it was a fantastic presentation. I particularly am a huge fan of Ivanova now and the attempt at driving. I understand trying something and that didn't go well, but that was great. So thank you very much.
Okay, excellent. Well, I just want to just say a huge shout out. Thank you, Beth, for bringing your team and your students. Our job coaches and our students are really the power behind a lot of this work, but your passion helps drive that and your leadership and organizational skills. I have just learned so much from being just hanging out with Beth a little bit and being part of some of the work that the students are doing. I would love to find a way that we can have our school board attend your graduation ceremony at the end of the year, because it is profound and impactful. We're working on a way that last year it coincided with our retirement celebration at Apple Bowl. So we're going to work on making sure that those two are separate so we can each go to those. But thank you again, students and staff, for being here today. It's just a wonderful display of the amazingness that's happening in there, and then letting our community know what Wenatchee School District and what you are doing for our students of this age band. So thanks.
If there are no further questions or comments, this meeting is adjourned.